Hi everyone, welcome to Buckle Up Podcast. I'm Natalia Earle and I'm a certified business and life coach that loves talking to people. I'm fascinated by humans and how our brain works. What is it that makes a decision good or bad, and how does that decision ultimately shape our path and destiny? Everyone loves to talk about success, but what about the flip side? How about adversity? Failure is such a big and often necessary part of life, and it's simply unavoidable. So I invite you to join me on this inspiring, honest, unpolished interview show with breathtakingly real conversations that go deep on setbacks and hardships that are part of the puzzle that ultimately lead to growth, discovery of inner greatness, and what makes us resilient. Grab your helmet and buckle up, people. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But what a ride it will be. Today I sat down with Ryan Long, president of National Gold Consultants, who's been in the investment industry for 18 years, carrying on a family legacy. With degrees in business and economics, Ryan directly assists advisors in achieving wealth for their clients by utilizing physical gold and silver. NGC works exclusively with national financial and insurance advisors, and they are the only licensed, regulated, and bonded wholesale companies in the country offering investments through precious metal. Ryan, along with his wife and 2 children, are busy working on their farm, raising chickens and growing veggies in their garden. Ryan also coaches baseball, enjoys time on the lake, and fishing on the beautiful Minnesota lakes.
Talia, I'm gonna step back a little bit and unpack the word investment. And
Great.
so our brains and our, especially our American brains are all tailored towards, what have the returns have been, what will they be, and how much money can I make, and how safe is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that has a place inside of every, we call it the nest egg, or every investment portfolio. But we try to unpack that information with the premise of, again, wealth insurance. So when we look at insurance in general, or insurance as a whole, so let's factor in health insurance or life insurance. Well, it's there in case we need it. One of those peril type events occurs, right? We hope to never have to use it because that means
Right.
an event has occurred. And that same principle, if we transition that into investment, that same principle applies towards your wealth. Mm-hmm. So the premise behind the why of gold and silver is, if you look at just the historical backgrounds of gold and silver, it plays an inverse or an opposite role to 3 things. The first thing is our dollar's purchasing power. So if our dollar continues to be devalued, the government continues to print money over and over again, which we're seeing left and right, then our dollar we see buys less and less. Common term is inflation. Right. The second one is real estate. If real estate is doing very, very well, like it is right now, gold and silver will play an inverse role to that, and it'll be extremely low, which they are right now. And the third is our equity markets. So our stock markets, if those are doing very, very well, which we're only a few percent away from all-time highs with all the major indexes, gold and silver will play an inverse role.
Talk to me about silver. Mm-hmm. How is silver doing now, and what is it projected in the future? What are we looking at to do?
I love silver. When we talk to an individual about gold and silver, when we start to become a larger allocation, we like to have participation in both gold and silver. If I pull up, I don't have this in front of me, Natalia, but macro trends, you can look up the Dow Jones Industrial compared to gold. And if I pull up the last 20 years, it looks like gold absolutely has extremely outperformed the Dow. But if I look at the last 30 years or the last 10 years, it actually reverses, and it looks like the Dow has outperformed gold. And the whole rationale of why I'm saying that is because we like to have participation in both, not just all gold or all stocks, et cetera. And that same is with silver. I'm very, very passionate about silver because not only is silver a monetary hedge, just like gold is, and it plays the inverse role of those 3 things, which I alluded to. but it also has an industrial component, which gold does not have. So I like to say gold is recycled and silver is consumed, and it's consumed in major technologies, infrastructure, green energies, all of the things that are on the largest agendas now. Silver's used for, and it still has that, I call it, brother sister mentality to gold for that monetary hedge. But where we're at right now with the infrastructure we're talking about, silver actually is, I think, the only commodity that's below its 1980s peak. So you factor that in. Silver has some major upsides in the near. I give an example when I'm speaking in front of large groups. I hold up a silver dollar and I say, in 1950, this silver dollar bought me 10 gallons of gasoline. In 2021, this exact same dollar still buys me 10 gallons of gasoline. So I get the question a lot, where do you think the prices of gold and silver are going to go? And the answer I have for that is gold and silver will rise accordingly to where it needs to be to keep up with current purchasing power and the devaluation of our dollar. So I don't care if silver was at $100 an ounce or if it was at $5 an ounce. In this environment right now, I mean, I'm not a seller. I'm definitely a buyer because of what's coming down the pike. And no one knows the timing, but there's some issues and we know it.
For sure. And from what I understand, again, listening to some of the experts, it's like we are looking at 20% inflation, coming our way. So
yeah. I mean, if you, going back to, we didn't start calculating inflation until 1980. Since 1980, our government has actually changed the formula 4 times. And all they've done is by changing it, all they've done is they just have omitted bits and pieces out of it, not added, but they've always taken things out. So is grocery prices in there? Of course not. Is energy prices in there? Of course not. Is your actual housing, stuff in there? Of course not. But those are modern day. I mean, that's what you and I have to deal with for inflation, but that's not calculated in there. But even with today's calculations for government, after they've changed the formula 4 times, we're still with government numbers. If you look at the month over month and year over year, we're still between 7% and 8%, and that's government numbers.
Talk to me about gold a little bit, because when you and I, we were talking over the phone, and from, again, some of the research that I've done as well, is gold can be counterfeited much easier, correct, than silver. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that goes back towards our silver bar conversation. The average size silver bar is 100 ounce. So call it a small loaf of bread. It's about 7 pounds. Very easy to counterfeit and reproduce. I've even seen bars that there's a specialized, really microscopic drill that goes in and actually drills out the interior of the silver. It's filled with copper and then plated on that little drill mark with silver. So you would never even know unless you have the devices like we have in our office, which are extremely expensive. So the average retailer, the average store down the road, they're not going to have those devices because they cost tens of thousands of dollars to detect. That's, so another reason why we don't do bars, but silver, if you look at a silver dollar right now, call it, $35, $40 for a coin. We're not dealing with collectibles. We're not dealing with the shiny ones because we're not peddling coins and being a collector. We're solving financial problems. It wouldn't be a cost-effective way to counterfeit a $35, $40 coin versus for gold, when you're talking, an ounce of gold is roughly $2,000 an ounce. That's a little more cost-effective for that, right?
Right.
But the pre-1933 coins, and you can speak to this, they're all just, different bumps and bruises. Some are tarnished, you can't fake circulation. You cannot fake something that's been circulated for upwards to 150 years. Whereas the hot off the press, even the brand new coins that are not designed for circulation, that's something you can reproduce because it's technology nowadays. So that's just another little nugget that you have to, there's rights and wrong ways to buy things, and you got to be careful with what you're doing.